and welcome to another episode of Dallas Watch. I am Warren Johnson, and today that I'm actually recording this with my highly talented crew is February 14th, Valentine's Day. Now, you won't see this until February 28th, but today is Valentine's Day, and I hope that your Valentine's Day went very well. Believe it or not, I have a Valentine's. My lovely bride, Carmen Chapa, who is a realtor. We have a business together. And one of these days, I'm going to bring her on. Now, we're going to put up a picture of her card and a website over here so you can get to know her a little bit. But she is a rather entertaining person. She's a force of nature. And I tell you what, when I ran for city council, she was a machine. She was a door knocking machine. She loved to knock on doors. She loved to talk to people. And she was, I got beat, but I would have gotten beat a lot worse if I didn't have her on my team. So anyway, she did a great job, and I can't wait to bring her in here someday. She may even play the guitar. I got her a guitar for Christmas, and she's really taken to it. She was a professional musician in a previous life. Clarinet was what she used to play, but now she's learning the guitar, and she loves it. So anyway, I can't wait to bring her on someday. Here's what we're going to talk about, because you're going to get this video on Friday, February the 28th, which is the last day, or maybe the second to the last day, of early voting in the primaries. So the election ends on March the 3rd, which will be the next Tuesday coming up. There are, and we're covering the Republican primary because that's where the conservatives are. I haven't found any conservative Democrats yet. If I do, I'll report on them. But in the Republican primary, there are 10 ballot propositions, and I'll cover that in a second. I want you to go get a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil, and I'm going to give you some stuff to write down while you're looking for that. I'm just going to tell you now, you're going to write this stuff down, and you can take it with you into the voting booth. Also, in previous episodes, the last couple of months, I've covered some of the other elections, state rep, state senator, U.S. rep, that kind of thing. And I think you ought to go back and review those with a piece of paper, write down the information you get off there, and take that with you to the voting booth when you go, if you haven't already. But on this one sheet of paper you're going to write here at the top, you're going to put Republican propositions. Again, that's Republican propositions. Put that at the top of the page in the center. On the left-hand side, number 1 through 10. 1, 2, 3, all the way down to 10. You don't have to spread it out a lot, because I'm going to read this out to you. You don't have to write down the propositions, and you can get them online, and we'll put the link up here too for you to look at in case you want to go put it online or look at it online. And I'm going to just tell you how to vote. In other words, yes or no. Let me read to you what it says on the Republican Party website for the state. It says, here are the 10 primary ballot propositions. Keep in mind that this is an opinion poll of Republican voters and not a policy referendum. In other words, these aren't going to become law based on if these get the most votes one way or another. This is just an opinion poll. It says that when you vote yes or no, you are telling us what you think should happen. You are not voting to make a law, but merely saying you agree or disagree with a statement. So keep that in mind. Here's number 1. Here's the first one. Again, you're only going to write yes or no down depending on what I tell you here, or whatever you want to do. You can go against me, that's fine. A lot of people do. But anyway, number 1 of 10, first one of 10, number 1 of 10. Texas should not restrict or prohibit prayer in public schools. That's kind of a no-brainer. I think they should not prohibit prayer in public schools. So if you think they should not prohibit prayer in public schools, then put yes down and vote yes when you go in. Number 2, Texas should reject restrictions on the right to keep and bear arms. Now, believe it or not, you would think Texas would have the most supportive gun laws in the nation, because, we're the wild, wild west out here. But actually, we are in the bottom half. We have some of the most restrictive gun laws. In other words, you cannot walk down the street and carry a weapon unless you're licensed. Now, they've been easing up, but still they're rather restrictive. Personally, I'm a believer in, words have meaning, and the Second Amendment does say that the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It's a God-given right to protect yourself using whatever means you need to make sure you're not killed or hurt or harmed. And the government guarantees in there that they will not restrict your right to do that. But Texas has gotten away with it for well over 100 years. You would think that would be the opposite. In fact, Bernie Sanders' Vermont has some of the least restrictive gun laws in the entire nation. So imagine that. Okay, here we're going to move down to number 3. Texas should ban the practice of taxpayer-funded lobbying, which allows your tax dollars to be spent on lobbyists who work against the taxpayer. Cities hire lobbyists, and cities get their government from you, the taxpayer, whatever city you live in, and they'll take that money, some of that money, and they'll hire a lobbyist to go down to Austin or to Washington, D.C., and lobby for their best interest, which may be against your best interest. So they're using your money to work against you. So I say vote yes to Texas banning that practice. Number 4, Texas should support the construction of a physical barrier and use existing defense-grade surveillance equipment along the entire southern border of Texas. I say yes. In other words, all intents and purposes, this means build the wall. Texas, and I've been reading a lot about Texas history lately, even deeper than I have before. The border issue with Mexico, let's just be honest, the border issue with Mexico has been going on since even Texas, before Texas became a republic. Even when it was a state of Mexico, they still had a problem with the states below the Rio Grande. It has been here forever, and it probably will be a problem forever. So the sooner we can get this fixed and taken care of, the better it will be. So I say vote yes on number 4. Let's move on to number 5. So far you should have 1, 2, 3, and 4, or yes, 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 and yes. Okay, and we're also going to put up probably have it up there by now, a link to this particular place where you can get this stuff and read it on your own. Number 5, Texas parents or legal guardians of public school children under the age of 18 should be the sole decision makers for all their children's health care decisions, including, but not limited to, psychological assessment and treatment, contraception, and sex education. Obviously, the answer is yes. Now, the only problem I've got with this particular one, and I've questioned some people about it, and they really don't know, but why does it say just public school children? Are private school children exempt from this? Are homeschool children exempt from this? Why just public school children? They're probably the ones in the most danger of this kind of stuff. But this puts, and it's meant to put, the control of the child's life in the hands of the parents. Now, whether or not the parents are responsible enough to make those kinds of decisions, that's another story. But certainly we shouldn't let another governmental agency make those decisions for children under a good parent's care. Number 6, Texas, and this is kind of related to this one. Number 6, Texas should ban chemical castration, puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and genital mutilation surgery on all minor children for transition purposes, given that Texas children as young as 3 are being transitioned from their biological sex to the opposite sex. I think you all understand what's going on there. Obvious, you want to vote yes. You want the state to ban all those things because this goes back to some parents who are probably not quality parents. They get caught up in what's hip and cool for the moment and are willing to sacrifice their child to become woke, so to speak. So we say vote yes. And there's kind of a contradiction there between 5 and 6, the way we're feeling about it. But that's a debate for another time, and we'll go into that at another time. Number 7, Texans should protect and preserve all this is going to be near and dear to my heart, and it should be to yours. Texas should protect and preserve all historical monuments, artifacts, and buildings, such as the Alamo Cenotaph and our beloved Alamo, and should oppose any reimagining of the Alamo site. I vote yes. Now, that being said, and we're going to put the sign up here for the Return to Lee Park. That's something I'm involved in. I'm a big, and we're going to cover this in a later episode, so I won't belabor the point here. But you want to vote yes for that. And I tell you what, I'm not going to go into more detail here about the Alamo. I have some concerns about that as well. I'll cover that at another episode and do that at that time. So I say vote yes. Number 8, Texas election officials should heed the directives of the office of the governor to purge illegal voters from the voting rolls and verify that Each new registered voter is a U.S. citizen. Of course, that's a no-brainer. That's a yes. We won't belabor that either. Number 9, bail in Texas should be based only on a person's danger to society and risk of flight, not that person's ability to pay. That's another no-brainer. And just a few years ago, this wasn't a problem. I don't know why all of a sudden this has become a problem, but for some reason judges are letting them go. We've got a DA here in Dallas who's got a nickname given by the police, not me, by the police, called Let Him Go Creuzot. We'll cover that in another episode later on down the line too. So that's yes to that one. Number 10, we finally hit number 10, the top 10. Texas should limit our state legislators' terms to 12 years. Yes, with a capital Y. Yes, yes, and yes. If you can put 3 yeses behind it, we'll do that. That's an obvious. We got to get them out. They get locked in there. And when they get elected, the first term, all of a sudden, a lot of money starts flowing to them, and it just never ends, and it's a problem. It's a big problem. So we've got 10 propositions. It's easy. All you got to do is go in there and say yes to all 10 propositions. So that's what we're going to do. Next episode coming up, we're going to cover, I believe, there's some activity, well, let's just say it's going to be about Dallas, because this is going to be the last episode regarding elections until probably a little after Labor Day, when the fall elections are coming up, the general elections. So anyway, that's it for today. Have a good day, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye. I really appreciate you tuning in to watch the show. Please hit the like and share button and share it with your friends and family. If you'd like to give us some feedback, we'd love to hear from you. Just email us at dallaswatch2020@gmail.com. Also, please consider a tax-deductible donation. You can go to www.returnlee.org. And also, don't forget, tune in every Friday, 7:30 Dallas time. New episode comes out of Dallas Watch. See you then. So long.